So, Titans track breakdown. How did the track come about? We were jamming with just guitar and drums, which we don't normally do. We normally write everything sort of on the laptop with a synth. But we're taking a traditional approach because we were trying to write a new metal tune. And then I came up with that riff in the verse, the dun-dun-dun-dun-dun bit. And I thought, oi, hold on a minute. So we sort of stopped there and carried on. And I thought I quite liked the dissonance of leaving that open D string whilst I hit the A sharp on the 13th fret of the A. Just sounded cool. I thought, let's do something with that. And then you were doing like a break beat over it.
I think we were playing another song and we jammed we had the in-ear monitors on. I think it was just a simple case of jamming that out, really, which we haven't done in a while. A lot of it starts on the computer, but this one was definitely live.
Yeah.
Initially, from what I remember.
I feel like you can hear that in the song as well. Like in the roots of the song, it sounds like a band. Whereas A Better World definitely sounds live, but it sounds a bit more electronic.
Not polished. Like, yeah.
Yeah, this is grittier. It's definitely electronic, but it's got a bit more grit and attitude to it, isn't it?
Yeah, and one thing we wanted to do in this track is, in terms of the drums, blending the acoustic set kit and the electronic kit. The big inspiration for that was Prodigy and those kind of tunes. In fact, actually, well, we'll just start with the drums, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
The main drop of the drums, play the electronic drums first. With all the other drums included. And coupled with that, which is quite interesting, is there was this sample called Turbo Bass, and it goes like this. This is either a bass or it's a kick drum, and it was an interesting blend. So we've used that as the weight of the kick in this track, playing along with all the electronic stuff just together. You definitely get like a very Prodigy feel. And then I joined in with the acoustic drums over the top of it. And you can see I have painstakingly gone through and tidied up every hit so that it is as natural sounding as I could get it, but as close to on grid I could make a compromise there, because when you're blending acoustic drums with electronic drums, if there's any flamming, if I'm recording the acoustic set, no drum is absolutely perfectly in time. Only a computer can do that. So I wanted a sort of keep the whole recording that I did rather than taking it into sections and then looping it. So, but I needed it to work with the electronic drums, which are very on grid, and I didn't want any flamming. The flamming happens when you've got an audio file that plays sooner or later than another one, basically, right?
So instead of bang, you've got bang.
Yeah, and you have to be very careful when you're blending, especially drums, because they're so percussive and they've got very big transients. So it's very like sharp to your ears, so you can pick it up. So yeah, what I did is basically cut every beat. Some beats I haven't moved and I've left naturally. Others I have moved, especially like the kick and snare. That needs to be on grid. It's a dance track. It's not a rock song, which took, I think it took me 2.5 hours just on that to go through painstakingly every beat. And you can see it here, rather than just looping it. That's the sort of the passion Jamie and I had for this tune, not just looping it from everything. So,
well, credit to you. You did all of that. I was sat over there in the cup chair, doom scrolling on my phone whilst he was doing all of this.
Yeah, I think it got to like 12 at night or something one time, and I was like, man, I need to go to sleep. And I definitely remember recording this, recording that break. I don't think it was many takes. It was just, right, give this some welly, hit record and just hope it works, and it did. So
Well, there actually were a lot of takes before it, but they were more deciding how you play it because you tried a few with the hi-hat quite closed. It was way tighter, but I was sort of encouraging Josh just to open that hi-hat a bit more. You lose some tightness, but you gain so much more energy and attitude just by having the hi-hat a bit more open and a bit more spilly.
Yeah, and I didn't want to just lay into a crash cymbal for any drummers watching this because it's you just get this. It didn't really. You get like this wash over it, which is just too much. Yeah, it destroys the groove. And that was a lot of the sound is that gnarly sort of open hi-hat, which is like a blend between a crash. But in terms of the drums, that's the bulk of the drums. Obviously, we've got a cool, very dancey chorus. Which the inspiration for this was a Prodigy tune called No Good. Which I'm sure everyone knows. It pushes the track along that drum beat, doesn't it? So I really wanted to have that vibe for the chorus, which is just everyone bouncing up and down. And this actually took a little bit longer to do because I really needed this on grid.
So for the main bulk of the song, we just did a very boring classic, all the shells spot mic'd, A/B overheads. We stuck a room mic in for a bit of extra girth, and we stuck in the fat mic, which is basically a crotch mic, but facing straight down at the shell of the kick drum. It picks up a lot of snare as well. It's nothing new. Loads of people have done it. It just sounds cool. Sounds good in this room on this kit. But then, as Josh mentioned in the intro, we recorded the drums and cymbals separately. That way, you can crank a lot more brightness into the snare without then bringing the cymbals up with it. We didn't need to do it so much in the rest of the track because we've got a load of samples on the snare which have all the brightness and they're isolated, so it's already there. Whereas the acoustic drums are very exposed at the start of the song, so that's why we did it separately. Also, that means we can saturate the drums more without distorting the cymbals as much, so you get a bit more of that grit without it sounding like it was recorded on a potato. So it's another benefit to getting a little funky with how you're recording things.
Yeah.
Also, for anyone watching on headphones or monitors, if you're wondering why you couldn't hear any sub bass in the kick, it's because we've routed the sub of the kick to a bus which has the sub of the sub bass and everything else. So we just didn't solo that with it because we wanted to just hear drums. So that's why. Thought I'd clarify that.
I didn't even realise that. Yeah.
I'm a nerd. So this turbo bass Josh mentioned, brushed upon it earlier, it's sort of between an actual bass line and a kick. And the reason for that is I'm pretty sure it's just a sample of a distorted 808. So obviously that's for anyone who, I'm sure everyone knows what an 808 is. It's an old drum machine that Roland made, and they had this kick sound which sounded like a sub bass. It's very long. So it's got the impact of a kick, but the length of a bass. Just sounds really cool. I duplicated the track, cut the low end, and saturated it some more. So it adds a bit of extra girth. But what I did, if anyone's interested, is on the duplicate.
What you did is put a shitload of plugins on
it. I did. On the duplicate, I actually distorted it before I cut the low end. And the reason for that is that I wanted those nasty sub frequencies to sort of sound like they're overloading that distortion plugin. If I cut the low end before I started distorting it, then it would only distort from, say, 100 hertz up. So that way, the way I did it, I get the benefit of the overtones of the low end, but then I also get to cut it away so it's clean. Complements the other one.
Also, sorry to jump in,
right.
For any music nerds there, this plugin is possibly my favorite plugin. I can't remember what it's emulating.
It's emulating a Pultec EQ from the 1950s.
Yeah, and this thing, if you put this on a kick drum, or, well, it's kind of a kicker bass at this point. I mean, we've cranked it here, but I think we've dialed back the mix of it somewhere. Yeah, there you go. But even putting this to like 3, it gives it so much weight and so much like oomph on the lower end. So that is something I can sort of tend to always put on, don't we?
So the bass guitar in this track's really minimal. We cut all the low end because we've already got that turbo bass going on. So it's literally just doing this. In the verse, just disgusting.
That is pretty gnarly to be fair.
Disgusting tone. I think that was recorded straight into the interface and then we just put a load of pedals on in post. I do like recording through my preamp and stuff, but this is literally just stick it in, try an idea, and then we stuck with it and thought, what's the point in re-recording it if it sounds good?
I don't know what's doing here. Okay, it's just...
That's heavy.
Yeah, I know. That's really nice.
And then the chorus bass. Again, low end's cut because we got a synth sub going through it.
That's nice.
Same tone, horrible, sort of sounds like what does it sound like? It sounds like your jaw's been taken off and then scraped along a wooden table and put back in, so it's all like got horrible edges on it. That's the tone we were going for. When you're making electronic music but with live instruments, it can be difficult to get the blend where you want it to be, because it can either sound too electronic and produced or just too live and it doesn't sound dancey. So little things like changing the bass there so it doesn't just sound like a loop. It sounds like a human playing it.
I mean, with the
things like that.
With the drums, it just works.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the entire bass in that tune.
So the guitar, as mentioned earlier, it was just came up with the riff while we were jamming. Simple as that. And I'm pretty sure the recording was straight on the DI output of my Fender Mustang amp on an amp modeler. Anyone who says amp modelers suck can shut up. You just don't know how to dial them. Just take some time on them. They sound good.
So yes, you hear the two guitars coming in left and right there. This main guitar, there was something about this. It just sounded. I think we tried to re-record this main guitar because this was like the demo version, and there was something about the tone of this we couldn't replicate, so we just left it as it is, and it sounds. It sounds a little bit darker. Then we kind of doubled it with some other guitars, hard left and hard right, when it comes into the drop. So if you're on headphones, you'll be able to hear that very, very clearly. I'll A-B the doubles. So this is without them. And then with them. And that, it's all little things like that which help carry the weight of when it comes in. Because when the song comes in here, it's actually, it's pretty minimal in terms of what's going on. You've got the bass taking up the weight. A lot of the loudness actually is the bass.
Yeah.
You've got the drums kind of doing a crazy break beat, but then in terms of the higher end, there's a lot of space for the guitar, but so we kind of wanted to really beef that out. Yeah. Enough said on that, to be honest with you. It's that guitar makes this tune, to be honest.
Cheers.
Yeah. The chorus guitar. What's this doing?
So that's funny because we've just noticed there's a mistake of a string going.
Where is that?
I don't know.
It
was on the right double, I think.
Oh, is it? That's funny.
That's another example of. Obviously, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying put mistakes in your recording by any means, but if you can't hear it in the mix, then who cares? Because the listener, unless we're stupid enough to do a track breakdown and show you all like we're doing right now, the listener's never going to hear these mistakes. So obviously don't just chuck a mistake in your recording, but if you can only hear it going wrong in solo, then it's fine. It's just fine.
Just for reference, I want to hear that again. But
It's in key.
It works. It almost sounds like a synth.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I didn't even realize that was in there.
Another thing we've done, which you won't hear unless we put the drums with it, but we've sidechain compressed the guitars to the drums. All you producers and mixers out there will know what that is, but for anyone who isn't a producer or a mixer, sidechain compression summed up is when you've got, say, a kick drum going bang, 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 and say you've got a guitar going, the kick drum, if you sidechain compress the guitar to the kick drum, every time the kick hits, the guitar will duck in volume. So instead of a guitar going, it's going, and it creates that dancey pulse.
You
so
probably
we did that in the chorus.
You'll notice that in a lot of Flume's songs. If you listen, I think he kind of almost made it trendy at that point. Really, a lot of his stuff is very like, it feels like you're being sucked into the beat. And it's a trick used to create the space, but it ends up having this effect of like pulsating.
Yes.
There's also some more guitar in the middle 8.
So the guitar's following the vocal melody.
Oh, yeah.
It's doubled as well. Soft pan left and right, not all the way, just because didn't really need the width on this one.
Actually, in fact, I remember this guitar as well. This was the demo, as well as the other one, and we just, it sounds kind of rough. It's not exactly on grid and maybe a bit pitchy, but it just worked with the vocals. It sounded a bit chaotic.
These middle 8 guitars go off into a sort of lead in the last chorus. And I'll bring in the other guitars.
Yeah.
And there's a synth that doubles that as well and makes it bigger.
Yeah, it's a really nice like chorus uplift. In terms of the guitar, that's all of it.
So synths in this song, you got the lead synth, which is the Logic ESP. I know the Disclosure boys use that one a lot. It's basically a mini.
It looks like something. I was just watching Doctor Who, the David Tennant ones yesterday, and it looks like something exactly out of that.
It does. Or like Mothership Zeta from Fallout 3. It's got that space age look, but it's basically a very simplified mini Roland Juno. Very simple to use. If you're a Logic user and you use synths, have a go on this one. It's good fun and it's easy.
It's nice actually to go back to basics. A lot of people now use Serum, and I usually start my tracks with Serum anyway.
I love
think
Serum.
You're the same.
Yeah.
But Jamie's like sort of, I think, done quite a few hours on this synth here, and he knows it's very quick to get to a sound in his head. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's compared to Serum, there's a lot less you can do on it, and it's nice.
Sometimes the limitation is, adds a bit more gravy to the dinner. That's nice.
Yeah.
So that synth line is played on a MIDI keyboard. Yeah, so that's basically an ESP. Yeah, we distorted it a bit in post with Chroma Glow and Decapitator, and plenty of reverb and delay. Simple as that.
Decapitator is we got this recently, and this thing is amazing. It's got a punish mode, and putting, I don't think I barely use the punish mode anyway, but putting that on drums and things like that is very nice. I've turned it off. Can I just note something? Any producers, the value in marking the track is like, you have to do it. It's a non-negotiable. That's just as a side note, because Jamie's always having a go at me for having an untidy session.
Oh my God. The amount of times Josh will bring a splice sample in, which is fine, unname it, fine, I get it, being creative. And would have done the session days and weeks ago or months. And the kick drum will be called like X328.05.0. I go, Josh, for God's sake, just call it a kick.
And then he spends like the next hour trying to tidy up all my shit. And
it's always shit organisation, and it's clipping by at least 5 decibels. And I got to come in and sort it all out. Bottle feed the session until it's nurtured.
Yeah, I'm trying to improve on.
No, you are, to be fair. You are improving. And look at all the colour coding you've done. It's
I know. I did
See?
make an effort before this, before we recorded this video to sort of organise it, but
very nicely colour coded. So you'll hear.
Probably turn up the sidechain more so you can hear it, but yeah. So you hear it ducking there. Very subtle. Obviously, we've just shown you an extreme version of it, but yeah, when you add that little touch on various different elements, it all adds up to that feel, doesn't it?
100%. Another synth bit. The rest of the things, like, we could show you, but they're just sort of background stuff and, respaces and stuff. Not really that interesting. But in the pre-chorus, we've got the synth, which is just a straight-up sample.
This thing gives this track identity,
yes,
in my opinion.
It's a sample. It sounds 90s. It sounds Prodigy.
Yeah.
It's this little blighter here.
You'll hear I've actually stretched out the audio file to be a bit more in time, and
you did that.
I did that, and it's given it a load of what they called artifacts.
Yes,
which is like this weird, like, sort of crystallized feel.
Crystallized. That's a nice way of putting it.
We kind of left it in because it sounded cool, and you can hear it's pulsating there.
I know you changed me, and I can't let go. It's all I see.
Jamie's beautiful vocals. Might as well start from the intro.
You know my intuition. You know I can't come back again. You know my intuition. You know I can't come back again.
Lots to unpack here. You'll probably notice the vocal reverse here. This was, I think, needed on the track. I believe, Jamie, you took the first word and then you simply reversed it and then put reverb on it. Is that right?
Almost. I took the first word, I put reverb on it, bounced it, then reversed it. The reason for that is you have if I'm saying the word you, which is the first one, if you put the reverb on it, so you've got all that ambient tail, and then reverse it, that's how you get the sweller going like that. And then I just cut it. Simple as.
And then
the other reverse thing,
this,
which is where we actually just took that whole part of the vocal and then just reversed it.
So the whole vocal line reversed, basically, right?
Yeah.
So which is...
Wow. Let's show what it is without all these plugins.
All right.
So it's like you're in the bowels of hell.
So that is actually the main vocal line, but just reversed. And then I think Jamie chucked a shitload of plugins on it.
I did. So what I did, I'm only going to briefly touch on EQ because it's not that interesting, but I cut the low end. And then I cut these mids here around where I'm singing so that there's less conflict going on between the two sounds. And then some tremolo, which is really interesting. It's going at a 1/16th note, going left and right, which gives it that sort of stuttery, alien-y feel. And I pitch shifted it up, what was it, an octave, and
mixed it in a bit. In terms of the main vocal line, it's very, very...
You know my intuition. You know I can't come back again.
Very sort of... It's gently sung, actually.
Contrast the rest of the song, which is a bit full-on John.
Yeah.
As they say in France.
And then the vocals afterwards, maybe, Jamie, if you just take us through those ones.
Okay, so on that first chorus, I did the same reverse build thing like this. To lead you into the line. And I did the same technique as the intro where I reversed the whole line and left it playing behind it. With the tremolo on it, so
I can't even hear that in the
yeah, it's blended very quietly.
Yeah,
it was dancing a fine line between having the vocal lead and be a vocal or just get sort of swallowed by this really cool reverse sound. I was getting very carried away and dialing in the reverse, and Josh said, no, just, calm down a bit.
But the main chorus line.
And I can't help running again.
Sung so well.
It's taking over me. Taking over me.
Yeah.
So on there, we've got your standard EQ compression. It's compressed
Mate,
pretty
there's a
hard.
shitload of things.
There is, but most of these plugins here on the left are just different stages of saturation and distortion. We've got a few compressors on. I always like this 1176 type compressor, and I use the soft distortion on it. Drive it a little bit hard. It just sounds nice. Decapitator again. Some EQ. It's pointless showing you the EQ because every sound is different. So
a bunch of sort of
bits and bobs
to really tie it into the track.
So the first vocal was interesting because we did what you shouldn't do, and we recorded it on a different mic in a different room. Because why couldn't we record down here? Was something happening?
I can't remember what was going on, but we were tight for time for some way or another as well, and there was something.
Oh, that was it. There was a leak in the boiler, and our Uncle Chris had the floorboards up trying to fix it. So obviously lots of clunking and banging, and we're in this cabin here. So we thought where we record. So we went up to the workshop, but then Dad and his mate wanted to have a fire going and watch some like fishing documentary or something. So we thought, okay, let's go into my bedroom where the acoustics are an absolute nightmare. Use an entirely different mic to what we did before and just see what happens. It's not what you should do in recording normally, but we're at the point where we're just like, we need to get it done.
And in terms of how we came up with the style of the vocal, I think Jamie and I had the bulk of this track for a while, and we knew what the instrumentation was going to be for the verse, but we didn't know what the vocals were going to do. And we, when we were coming up with the vocals, there was quite a few trips we took in the car to Cardiff, and it happened often where I would sit in the passenger seat, Jamie would be driving, and we'd play the track on repeat continuously, both of us just singing and coming up and vibing off each other with ideas. And then eventually Jamie landed on a rap, which we thought, okay, this is pretty cool. I'll play it for you now.
The interesting thing about the rap is that I'm not a rapper and I don't sound very good at all when I rap. It was more Josh encouraging me because we were listening to a lot of Linkin Park at the time. Well, we still are. We always listen to Linkin Park. But it was quite inspired by Mike Shinoda. So because I'm not really a rapper, I sound okay if I'm rapping with distortion on it. But if you take my clean voice, it just doesn't really suit me. So I thought, well, let's just do it like my high Disclosure where there's loads of distortion on the vocal.
Look, you was there standing all night. Your heartbeat matching with the lights.
So we went for that similar sound and it ended up sounding all right.
Sounds like this. I think it sounds very good.
It's caving in, closing in, and I can't help you over the line, and I know we're fading in time. But something is wrong, holding on, cause I can't fight what's pulling inside, and I'm gone before you can find me.
So
that sounds sick, mate.
Oh, thank you. It's very distorted. It sounds a bit like it was recorded on a Modern Warfare 2 lobby in 2009 with someone screaming down the PlayStation mic. But that's the sound we were going for. Any audio nerds out there, you might have heard a bit of the room sound in that. It sounds like a room reverb, but what it actually is us recording in my bedroom where the acoustics aren't very good and those acoustics being brought up through the compressor. But it ended up creating quite a cool effect. So we thought, well, let's just stick with it rather than try and fight against it.
We obviously did quite a few layers of the vocals to get that thickness. There is a left and right double. There's a center double here, I think. And also this delay, which we definitely made sure you could hear in the final version, which I thought was really cool.
It's like I'm saying ham.
And there was something about that being a little bit pitchy, which we liked as well.
Yeah.
Let's just give that sort of really weird, unsettling vibe as it's all, going on. I mean, in terms of how that sounds in the track. Just works.
The vocals are a bit bedded into the track as well because it's not really a vocal song. So the vocals are just sort of there as opposed to sitting on top of everything. We want the music to do more talking and the vocals, really.
Pre-chorus vocals, do you want to see those?
Yeah, sure. So pre-chorus vocals, we didn't need them to be as distorted as the verse because it wasn't the rapping part. But if you just make it super clean, sometimes it doesn't quite work having that juxtaposition. So we simply just had it a bit less distorted.
And just to hear what that sounds like.
I know you changed me, and I can't let go. It's all I see.
Love that bit.
Thank you. So that's doubled left and right on the way to C. There's just some unusual notes. Might be like Locrian mode or Mixolydian mode. I'm not sure. They were just the notes that sounded good.
Second verse is, we wanted some sort of build up here. I can't remember how we landed on that little build up, but I think we definitely went through a few ideas. I'll have to find,
Yeah, originally it was a drum fill,
Yes, it was a drum fill.
but
Yeah.
it just didn't have the impact when it came back in. So we thought, take any percussive elements out of that bit. So when it comes in, it's just punch.
Don't know if the effects. Yeah, so there's a.
DJ scratches.
We'll come on to the effects in a second, but there's a bunch of effects going on to lead up to that build. Oh, here they are. But it's amazing what all those layers do. They're still there, but the vocals, the leading bit there. But it's things like that take a little while to do, but it makes the track so much more interesting rather than just putting a plain white noise riser.
Yeah, I think when you're a bit passionate and a perfectionist, it's a very fine line to dance because on the one side, you've got interesting samples being used as opposed to just boring, lazy ones and a bit more, effort put in certain things. But on the other hand, you've got, a track's taking a million years to do.
Yeah.
So you've got to sort of walk that fine line, really, which we're guilty of taking too long to do things, but we're working on that.
In terms of anything else in the track, there are some effects, Jamie. Do you want to just walk through some of the effects quickly?
Yeah, I'll brush over them quick. This Atmos at the start was interesting. So this is for the start of the song.
In fact, if we just play this without the effects, so the synth we were doing at the start, and you hear how dead it is. Now bring in the effects.
And if I just solo these effects, you can hear what's happening. It's cool. There's an 808 here, and there's
so
some
nice.
growl in there as well. A bit reminiscent of the soundtrack of The Thing. John Carpenter. There's that
I didn't
growl
even
synth.
think of that.
Yeah, there's a synth that sounds a bit like that in the film. I wish we made that louder in the mix now.
I know.
Right, re-release.
Oh well.
The double-edged sword of going back to a session like this is we always find bits and we think, oh, I wish we made that louder in the mix, but nothing's ever finished if you look at it that way. So,
John Diggers. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of stuff like that. I mean, in terms of where to start with the effects, there's obviously tons and tons and tons of effects. Maybe in the drop here, we've got this pitched siren. You can kind of just feel it in the track. I think we wanted to make sure it didn't just poke out, but it's definitely adds a lot. Yeah, I mean, in terms of other effects in here, Jamie, is there anything else in here?
no, I was just going to branch on that point of when you have little samples like that, which you want to hear, it's a bit of a difficult thing to mix them so that they don't just suddenly take the lead, because if you have these random sounds just suddenly taking the lead and going, it's pretty hard to get it sounding consistent. So you sort of ends up slightly underneath, which is why it's not super loud on the track. Sometimes you've got to carve sections out of the guitar and stuff like that to get these things to poke through, but they're only on for a couple seconds.
But yeah, I mean, that is a very quick overview of this track. It's obviously gone through several different versions. I think the demo, the actual core of the track has remained the same. It's all the production that's happened afterwards, and this was definitely a tune that we've always envisioned playing live, and it's we're very, very proud of it. It's very, very cool. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, happy with it.
So thank you very much for watching this video, and we'll do some more track breakdowns as our tracks get released this year. But for now, goodbye.
Ta-da.